Welcome back, everyone, to the Council for Maintenance podcast. If this is your first time joining us, we're a show that takes a behind-the-scenes look into the gritty, non-glamorous life of aircraft maintenance. We share some laughs, impart some wisdom, all in hopes of giving you that split-second relief in your day that can hopefully prevent a mishap. I am your co-host 6.
I'm MVP.
And our third host, Mr. Shoreline, is sitting in the back, monitoring our audio, making sure our faces stay fit for radio. So we were a little bit skeptical at first to talk about this subject, but given that we've aired our lack of voice episode for mechanics on why they clam up or why they're hardly ever known of, we felt this is kind of like a subject that relates very deeply to that. And an example we're giving of this is the whistleblowers for many of these quality production issues, like the ones from Boeing and some from other organizations. So conspiracy theories aside, like how and why they got offed or how and why they passed away, I mean, that's tragic as it is. And we can spool on all sorts of reasons why that happened or why the coincidences line up. Again, conspiracy theories aside, but what they were talking about, I feel that it's the point that really needs to get put into perspective, because we've heard some of the stories, and some of these go as far back as when airplanes were made, is when the process is failing or the people who execute the process are failing. When is enough that we have to pump the brakes? And when we do talk about it, when we do voice an opinion or voice some kind of concern, why does it always feel like you're the bad guy in the story, you know? Or help me out, Mr. MVP. Like, what am I trying to say? Like, why is it like such a bad thing when someone blows the whistle and
it's got a negative connotation. Whistleblower. Whenever you usually hear that, it's never a positive thing.
Mm-hmm.
Or typically, it doesn't cross your mind as a positive thing, and that's done by corporate marketing, if you will. It's not the right term. Marketing is not the right term, but the slander is propaganda.
Mm-hmm.
Whistleblower should be one of those where it says, "Hey, they blew the whistle, threw the flag, put a pause on the play. Let's go look at the TV camera and watch the playback and see if what happened, what they're saying happened, really happened." Instead, they're going, "Oh, you're a whistleblower. You're not a company man. You're not a teammate. You're trying to get all your friends fired by stopping production and everything else." And that's how they spin it. So whistleblower has that negative spin to it, because that's what corporate greed and what does Adam Savage call it, like late or post something capitalism. Anyways, the dollar drives everything, and to save a dollar and keep the shareholders happy, you cut corners, quality, and mishaps happen. Somebody says, "Hey, enough is enough. We're going to kill somebody," and now they're the bad person for saying that things are. Notice that things are happening. Notice though that there was never any denial, from anybody saying that what happened wasn't true, and that this person was spewing false information. They just said, "Oh my God, look at that guy over there. He's a whistleblower. He's not a team player. We don't want somebody like that for our company." But in reality, yes, you do. You do want somebody who's not afraid to speak up and say when things aren't right. And unfortunately, a couple of those individuals met their end, however they did. And so we spoke about in one of the episodes about mechanics not having a voice. And so you look at it and say, okay, well, we need to band together and speak up. However, we're still not there. These are just a couple of individuals who spoke up and we're taken to the guillotine for it.
Yeah.
Again, however that happened, whether it was the stress consumed them and their bodies start shutting down. As we all know, our bodies can't live under constant stress without tearing themselves apart. It's just what the human body does. But then you say, okay, we need to speak up. But when you see things like that happen, you're like, oh my God. We talk about, and I've spoken about it before, speaking up and speaking your mind can be career suicide. But then we see recent events and you go, and I'm air quoting here, wow, it might really be career suicide.
Yeah.
To actually say, because let's face it, the minute those individuals spoke up or you speak up in your shop, you notice the demeanor and change. You're now almost excommunicado. Everybody stays away from you because they're being directed to, oh, you don't want to be associated with that person. So everybody, now you're on an island. Management's kind of doing their underhanded threats to you in hopes that you'll quit, or they find some dirt on you while they're doing that while they're digging up dirt to try to find anything negative against you that you can be terminated for, that now they can throw out there and spin the narrative.
Yes.
To favor them.
You beat me to the punch in that, and I'm glad that we're at least sinking to that same state of mind. Like, and it's exactly that. Like, when you have a notion to speak up about something, like you've had this drive, this whatever drove you to say it, like you had to say something about it, like this is bad, or this is messed up, or this cannot continue. And then as soon as you say something about it, you're almost every effort is made to invalidate you for it, right? Like, this person sleeps at work, this person is late doing this and that, like just find all sorts of reasons to
they committed time card fraud.
Yeah, to make you the bad person, like the bad guy in the story, right? We've had very, very many examples of this in other forums, right? Like, say if someone blew the whistle for an EEO complaint or sexual harassment, sexual abuse, something, right? It's the same old story. Like, they find all the reasons in the world to pick apart your story, right, and invalidate you because if we can at least prove to some plausible deniability that this person is not a genuine individual, then it invalidates their entire argument. Like, this process is terrible. Oh, well, but says the guy who commits time card fraud. Oh, well, okay.
Yeah, funny how you're saying that process is wrong when you can't even follow our corporate timekeeping policy,
Yeah.
Just that kind of stuff.
Like simple stuff, right? And I know, and I've noticed this in many occasions where an individual blows the whistle about something and they'll find something to blow up about you, regardless of what it was. You showed up 2 minutes late to work. Oh my God, this person's a freeloader. Or you finished a task 2 minutes too fast. Oh, did they look at it all the way? Right? It's silly things. And so when we see individuals like that who mustered up the courage to blow the whistle or pump the brakes or whatever, speak their mind, and you see them just get invalidated and trashed, that's like a signal to everybody else, like, okay, maybe this is a bad idea, right? And especially for an area or an industry as small as aviation, like, you get red flagged in one area, you're kind of sort of black flagged everywhere else. You know what I mean? Like, that reputation follows you, right? Oh, why did you get fired? Oh, well, I blew the whistle on such and such. Oh, you're that kind of person. You know what I mean? That you don't hear like the good stuff, like, oh, okay, you pump the brakes, you put up the red flag when you needed to. Got it. That's the kind of people we need. Instead, you get oh, you're that person. Hey, everyone, make sure your mind your P's and Q's when this person is around, right? It's a similar thing when you get a new hire that just so happens to be a woman who had a EEO complaint of sexual harassment or something like that. It's immediately like, oh, we can't do certain things around this person. You know what I mean? And it's a very messed up mentality to have. And some of it, I think, as MVP has said, it's probably like this internal propaganda thing that they have going on. Like, what happens in Fight Club stays in Fight Club kind of thing, right? Or Fight Club doesn't exist. And the end result is like we just get like this silent compliance, right? Like the process is fine. You're the one who's fucked up. You need to unfuck yourself and get with the process because the process makes us money. Even though said process is all forms of chaotic, but somehow manages to push out a okay-ish product, whatever that product is, be it manufacturing or an operation or whatever, right? So like we can be all over the place internally, but as long as we deliver, as long as we get the money, we don't care. And as sad as it is with these two individuals, you know, they or many other whistleblowers, they realize that whatever the process is or whatever the tasks are screwed up to a degree that's a cause for concern. But as MVP said, if the dollar amount is not affected, we don't care. And again,
right, and you'll see, you know, think about the how much the situation must have been weighing on their minds for them to actually speak up and say something. Like however many thousands of employees and executives, and they threw the flag up because it was stealing sleep from them at nighttime, knowing that at any moment something catastrophic is going to happen in air.
mm-hmm.
And while nothing fatal has happened yet, it's coming. And they're saying, I don't want that on my conscience. I'm not going to be the one signing for that. I'm not going to be the one with blood on my hands, because guess what? When that happens, and the FAA and the NTSB and everybody's doing their investigation, and they go look at the books and figure out that you pencil whipped it, do you think your company's going to back you up? Hell to the no. They're hanging you out to dry.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, scapegoat. And they go to the front gate and bring the next chump. You know, that's the unfortunate reality of it. I've been in organizations where they say, "Hey, we do want you to raise your hand when you see something wrong." Right? They call it see something, say something. But the protocol was called stop and ask. If you see something that doesn't look right, put a pump the brakes, put a pause in there. Raise your hand, start asking questions, you know, and all maintenance will stop until answers are had. Mm-hmm. Well, all well and good. And that's nice that you might say, well, that's cool. They have a protocol in place. Yeah. Until you try to invoke that protocol, then I'm legally blind. I don't see shit. What are you talking about? Protocol. We don't have time for this. We don't have time for this, MVP. You dog, you know, we got schedules to meet, missions to make, products to deliver. We can't take any more, losses, to our contract and XYZ. And you're like, and you're going to them and you say, okay, but what's the other side of that? You're wanting to press through this, and you're saying we don't have the time and budget to spend on this yet. If something fatal, catastrophic happens, what's the cost then? And that's the problem with people who don't have to sign off the work.
Mm-hmm.
Whose necks aren't out there to be axed. I mean, we see with Boeing, what was it? The one VP of that division, I think, relieved himself of duty essentially before he could be. But see, at those levels too, that's the fix that they do. They don't actually fix the problem. We got rid of the guy in charge. We're going to put a new guy in there. I mean, we're going to make him do the same thing, but it's smoke and mirrors. It's all song and dance, smoke and mirrors. Look over here. Look, we fired this guy. Did you fix anything on the actual aircraft? Don't ask questions you don't want to know the answers to.
Yeah.
Just know that we removed and replaced the guy in charge.
Yeah.
And so back to the original of what's the other hand? Okay. So you say, let's use Boeing for the example. Okay. We don't have the time, money, want, and will to put a pause on things and fix what's wrong right now. Nope, we're just going to go for broke. And we've ejected a couple of doors, but nobody's died. And the key word in there that's hidden after the ... is yet. Mm-hmm. And I hope to God that there is never a fatal incident.
Yes.
But it's coming. It's coming because If they can get away with this, then what else can we get away with? And it's like a stop sign in an intersection. Several kids got to get hit in the crosswalk before a stop sign gets put in place.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing for this. Like, it's okay. All right, we're not willing to spend $100,000 now to get to scrap all this hardware, get new hardware, fix our work and inspection process. Nope, we're going to let one auger into the ground from 40,000 feet and go, well, I guess no time like the present to fix some things, everybody?
Yeah, no shit.
At millions of dollars in cost, loss of life, all the legal ramifications, the defamation to your name. I mean, there's people out there now I've seen online that are that are choosing flights based on the type of aircraft that is flying that particular leg of wherever they want to go. I've seen it. I've watched people do it. They even where I work, when people are getting ready to go on work travel, they're looking up and they're like, let's see, I'm going over to the East Coast, heading to Florida, let's say, and that's on a Boeing to Phoenix. Nope. Let's see, what's this one? Oh, this one's an Airbus. Okay, I'll take this one. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's an hour later, or 2 hours later, and it'll put me into Florida 2 hours later, but whatever.
Yeah.
At least I know I'll get there, kind of thing. And unfortunately, nothing bad's happened yet, but already the defamation is there. It's smeared across Boeing's face, unfortunately. And not picking on Boeing here. They're just the ones in the limelight right now. But it could be any other company out there. I mean, there was companies that aren't in the commercial aviation, they're in the space sector, had catastrophic failures, and it took almost a decade to recover from that and get investors reinterested in continuing on, but never really fully recovered from the accident. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's this risk reward thing, but my God, in this situation, the risk seems much higher than the reward.
Absolutely.
Like, what a knife edge to walk.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, we're not picking on Boeing. This can literally be any company. We can rattle off a whole slew of them if everyone wants to get extremely curious. But just look at the ramifications this is having. Like confidence in a particular company or confidence in a particular aircraft, an operation, maintenance team activity, all that stuff, or leadership even from the ground up. It's all getting put into question because of the lack thereof. Right. And sometimes a lot of this can be avoided, as we've stated before. It's just by someone pumping the brakes. Like, I'm not saying stop the line, but if it needs to come to that, then that's what needs to happen. Right. Instead of like coloring along and saying, nope, we need to make gains. We need to make profit. We need to make whatever. And it's worth the risk. Then we're cool. Right.
Okay, but let's talk about the money side of, we're too concerned with money. Money's tight. We need to keep profits high and maximize shareholder return. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, nothing super detrimental has happened yet, and your stock's already tanking. So are your shareholders screaming yet? Because I might be like, hey, you guys are running the clown show over there, and I've lost $800,000 in stocks declining under your business. What the hell? You know what? That's it. I'm pulling out my money and I'm reinvesting elsewhere. Like, if the money thing is a concern, then you should also be concerned with getting the best product out there that you can. Yes, I know time is money, and you got to be on time and product deliveries. I understand all that. But we've said it before, you either pay for it now or you pay for it later. And if you choose to pay for it later, it's going to be much more expensive. And this is just another one of the situations. We chose to overlook this because we didn't want to take the time and invest the money and all that to fix it now. And it was going to back up schedules to the right several months or whatever the case may be. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, now we have an accident. How long is your schedule backed up now? How long were all those aircraft grounded? So then you got all the airlines out there who have purchased these things. I'm sure those CEOs were calling the Boeing CEOs and said, you SOBs, I'm losing tens of thousands, $100,000 more a day because I have 18 aircraft in my fleet that I can't use because you've done some less than adequate things.
Yeah.
Fix it and fix it now. I want it fixed because especially in the commuter side of things, an aircraft on the ground isn't making money. It's a paperweight.
Yes, absolutely.
And I mean, again, we're too concerned with money. Well, if you are, I mean, you could have fooled me. Seems like you just want to keep cutting corners and saving face, but you're not really saving face.
Yeah, like your attempt to cut costs is actually driving up costs. If that makes any any sort of sense to everybody.
Yeah. Who's your CFO over there? They need to be axed too. They need to rematch.
Yeah, and sometimes the fix we're talking about process, but sometimes the fix can also be the people, right? And I'm not talking about good people versus bad people. I'm saying like sometimes like your individuals, in our case mechanics, if they're going above and beyond 24/7 to make the bare minimum happen, what do you think is gonna happen, right? They're gonna start looking at greener pastures. They're going to start looking for raises. They're going to start looking for all sorts of things that can accommodate what they're doing to justify their livelihood, right? And if their livelihood is having to psych themselves out to get into the car to go to work, you're already at a loss there. And it's like, oh, whatever, like we'll just color along until we can get what we can out of them and then replace them. Sure. And then you run into situations where said employees or said mechanics go on strike. And that comes back to the money thing. How many days is that aircraft staying on the ground because your mechanics or your employees are on strike, not doing what you wanted them to do because you're failing to hear the voices of these performers to make the process work or whatever, right? Or make the operation work. If money is a concern and say, well, I don't think my employees rate a higher raise and shit, they go on strike. What's that costing you now? Right? going back to the whole money thing. Like for every day that they're not working, what you refuse to pay them, you're suffering that in a loss of those aircraft or those operations not getting off the ground. And then now you got to figure out cheaper, cost-effective ways to circumvent this strike or whatever. And just in hopes that no one's going to catch wind about why it's happening. Again, like
well, the fact that nobody's going, hey, I couldn't help but notice you never said that what the whistle was blown about wasn't true is just astounding to me. And color me impressed if that's not actually happening in the background somewhere and it's just being squashed in the media or whatever.
Yeah.
If it's not being asked, oh my God, we're in a world of hurt. But the sad reality is that something was wrong. Somebody said, hey, this is wrong. Let's fix it. And the result was get wrecked, and you say, okay, well, if more people would have banded together, it would have been harder for them to get rid of everybody. But, when the people look at this now and they say, and I think this was actually a tactic by the corporations to do this and say, yeah, look, you can say something, but it's going to ruin your health and you have a high probability of death at that point. And people are going, oof, death, that's pretty serious for something like this. I don't want to do that. Mm-hmm. I think it's just a scare tactic that these businesses are putting in place. But you can always say no. I'm not signing that off. And what are they going to say? Oh, you're fired. Well, you probably didn't want to continue working there anyway.
Yeah.
Let some other scrub and you move on. And I know that weighs heavy on the mind. And you're saying, God, somebody's going to get hurt. But just try to remove yourself from that environment, I guess.
Yeah. And again, doing a mental health plug in here for the month of May. Exactly as MVP said, like when it's weighing heavy on your mind to the point where you feel the need to have to say something, and then you're getting all this animosity towards it, right? Both media propaganda, internal propaganda, friends propaganding against you, right? Because we've had those too, right? Like you really got to say something, and you have your own internal friend network that say, "Nah, man, just shut up and color along," because nothing's really gonna come out of it, right? They've already had that defeat mentality because history or nothing really gets done because of it, and that fucks you up internally, like all that added stress, plus say if you did blow a whistle or pump the brakes, now you're put on blast for everyone to scrutinize every little fucking thing about you, right? What you said, how you said it, who are you as a person, who are you as a mechanic or an employee, what does the company think of you, all this other shit, right? And getting all that blasted at you on top of your already stressful life, right? It's only a matter of time before you finally buckle and crack. And then this, again, as MVP said, like this signals to everybody else, like, I don't want that shit. Right? For saying the right thing or doing the right thing, or at least addressing a concern, right? Not saying if it's good or bad. It's just, hey, this might be a problem, right? And then getting blasted like that from anybody and everybody, and just basically being called a piece of shit all the way through, from the moment you open your eyes to the second you go into bed, just being labeled as a solid zero. That screws with you, right? And mental health wise, I bet you there's therapists galore who are screaming right now, like, oh my God, do something. Right? And I'm sure there's therapists out there who can attest to us, right? But this is like the mental health plug of the bit. So like that's gonna fuck you up, right? And it's gonna lead to a slew of shit. And some of them can manifest physically, as MVP said, like allergic reactions to simple shit, or you start developing like other physical problems like bone spurs or bursitis or cellulitis, all kinds of other itises, just like shit you didn't have, but all of a sudden everything compounds and then your body just gives up. Like your immune system starts attacking yourself because it doesn't know what to do. You're on overdrive. And other individuals see that kind of stuff, like, I don't want to go through that shit. And it gives them more reason to not say anything about it. Like, whatever, the process is trash, but we're still going to make it happen. And how many times have we all seen that, where the process is bad, but the good people make it good-ish? Right? I'm sure there's many examples all of us can come up with. Like, this way of doing things is freaking terrible. But we have good people that kind of put the bumpers in the gutter so we don't roll into the dirt. And it's those, like, air quotes, heroic efforts that kind of keep the whole thing moving. And kudos to those individuals, flat out. I mean, much respect to you, because, you inspire people that there is a good side to things. This is when good goes right, kind of thing. On the flip side of that, like, relying on those heroic efforts, those above and beyond people, that also has a negative effect. It kind of imbues complacency, right? Like, we can get away with it. Like, our way of doing things can be trash, or the people who drive these processes can be trash. But as long as they have good, reliable people to go above and beyond and do the work, because that's just how they're programmed to do things, right? Everyone likes to do a good job at minimum, and some people just like to do the best job that's possible, because just how we're raised or something like that. And so they rely on that and become complacent to how bad things really are. Like, oh, it's not that bad because things still gets done, right? Flights still happen on time, planes still get fixed. You may take a dip or two in schedule and cost, but it's all generally fine. It's all within the spectrum of normal. It's all good to go. And we kind of become blind to what a lot of stuff that's happening. Like, the process could be screaming, or in certain airlines case, the employees can be screaming that this is fucked up, and they color along because it still happened. It still does what you feed it to do. Right.
Well, and when you see it time and again, you get squashed, swept under the rug, whatever, and you go, eventually it becomes a narrative. And again, it's back to this brainwashing aspect and controlling the narrative of, why say anything? They're not going to do anything about it anyways.
Yeah.
And clearly, even if you say, well, so you get a couple of people say, well, I'm going to bring it up to the higher authorities, and it didn't fare so well for them, and you really start, as an employee still there, you're kind of like, well, what good is saying anything? And essentially you go, I have all the risk. All the risk is on me.
Mm-hmm.
I have to put this thing together with subpar parts and tooling and resources, etc. And that I'm responsible for, and I'm putting it together knowing these things are subpar, and then I'm responsible for signing it off knowing that this is subpar, and then accidents happen and you're going, I knew that was subpar, and there was a risk of that happening, and it finally happened, and they still go, yeah, but not serious enough for us to want to do anything. Who's your risk manager there? My God, that guy should be in the CEO's office, like knocking everything off the desk, going, holy shit.
Yeah.
We have a massive risk here. We are at risk of losing millions, billions of dollars. Anyways, the worst part is it's just controlling the narrative and saying, yeah, but why say anything? Yeah, we know things are wrong. And why say anything? Just do the work and sign it off. Okay, well, you got my back when it goes wrong. Ooh, that's where you're wrong, friend. I don't got you there either. See, you're going to be the fall person for that. Much easier to get rid of you, employee who makes $85,000 a year, than it is to stop this production line.
Yeah. And then by stopping this production line, that means I lose my level of control, and we don't want that, right? And this comes in. This kind of breeds into the selfishness of things, like the greed, the capitalism of personal gain, right? Stuff like that. A whole can of worms. We go that route, but more or less, yeah, it's 100% true. Like some individuals or some decision makers just don't want to hear anything other than they're doing great, right? And we can prove this with all forms of math, all forms of testimony, all forms of objective evidence from whatever you want to pull it from. And if it's not in the realm of what they want to hear, it screens out. Like you're operating at a decibel level that they just don't fathom. They don't understand it. They don't want to understand it. They don't want to register it, nothing. Right. And it's really sad, like when it really just discourages people, especially mechanics, because we deal with this on the reg day in and day out. Like we have to walk into work understanding that we're going to have to be the hero. Right. We just have to give heroic efforts. And a lot of times you see some individuals who are very lackluster is because they've burned out, man. Like they used up all their superhero chances. You know what I mean? Like freaking old man Wolverine, man. Like the healing factor overdid its job. You are old, you are fucked. Stupid shit will kill you now. Like, well shit. And it gives, it's again, like we've been saying this before, like it really just puts off a narrative that it's just not gonna work in your favor. And that's another reason why mechanics, especially, we clam up. We don't have a voice. We don't use a voice. And to the general people outside of aviation, they almost don't even know we exist. We just don't. Like, they understand that the aircraft gets fixed. They understand that the aircraft needs to get fixed. They're just not attuned to the people fixing it. Even to this day, with like all sorts of like aviation stuff out there, like pilot podcasts or aircraft maintenance competitions or commercials of Air Force dudes taking off in freaking no man's land. They understand that there's airplanes, that there's people involved to make airplanes do what they do. But outside of that, it's a movie. It doesn't register. It doesn't click because like we've closed looped ourselves to the point where like we're just okay with being okay. I don't care about the hardship. I don't care about the repercussions. I just want to get in, plug and play, and get out. And that's it. And for the most part, I guess that's a good thing. But it kind of encourages the complacency, as we've been saying. Like, if you just color along and just kind of grumble and grind, you grumble but you grind. You're just a squeaky wheel. That's it. Like, yeah, it's annoying. Yeah, we'll address it. We'll give you a couple of grease. We'll up your raise about 3%. As long and if that's enough to shut you up, fine. And if it doesn't, we'll just replace you. Fuck it. Right? We'll get you for another wheel that kind of goes along before it starts squeaking again. No big D. 85 grand does not affect my bottom dollar at all. Or we're just saying 85,000 because random number.
Well, that was just the number that threw out in my head. Had no real backing to it, you know.
Right. Right. But I mean, if we really are talking numbers, that's about right. 85 grand is about the average commercial mech makes, you know. I mean, you might get a couple lucky bunches that get 100K starting, but you're going to put some serious hours for that 100K and up, just saying, you know. There are some that get some really good benefits and bonuses and all that shit, right? But again, it kind of answers it kind of goes into the three questions, like, what time do you want to sleep? Where do you want to sleep? And where do you want to and how do you want to get paid? You know, it's kind of goes into those notions. Someone said it way more eloquently, way better than how I could, but that's just how my brain understood it at this moment. But yeah, so I would say, even though it sucks to say it, or just be the one to kind of grind the gears and pump the brakes, it's definitely a necessity. It needs to happen. As much as it will cause grief, even if it's just momentary grief, it's probably grief that needed to be had. You know, it's kind of like, what's that one Disney movie, Inside Out? Like, no one likes sadness, but in the very end they realize that sadness needed to happen, right? Before we can actually like process anything. So like, the grief's got to happen. You know, like you can avoid the grief all you want and just pretend everything's a-okay while everything's freaking crumbling. Sometimes you just need that grief to just like realize that we're screwed up or we have a problem, and then we could actually like address it in a certain way, or in a proper way. I'm sorry. Oh, that went on a big time rant on that one.
No, you know, it just, I know, you know, it would make me fearful to say something, to know that extreme ramifications can come of it. But I think what you have to do, and it's easier said than done, because let's face it, the job market's not exactly a booming place for maintainers right now. Well, aerospace in general, but you know, I think you have to, if you're going to say something, you got to be ready to pull the eject cord from that job and that company at the same time, because, you know, throw the flag. I mean, you can feel it out, you know, you know your workplace better than we do, but if it's like many workplaces, I think you're going to be screwed. They're not listening to you to hear what you're saying. They're listening to respond. And that response is going to be way high and right and over the top. So, you know, say something, give it a few days to a week. But if it gets to almost assault levels of harassment, it pull the eject cord. I mean, at that point, what do you care about dropping a 2 weeks notice?
This is true.
Pull the eject cord and get out. You know, again, easier said than done. I know we all need jobs to pay for life. But I bet you land on your feet. You know, there is going to be a organization out there that says, I do want somebody with integrity in this position. And it may be a small startup place, right? And maybe you'll be making less than you were before, but you get into the ground level and are working for a place that appreciates what you bring to the table, and you start your growth again. But you know, we're a small community, but we're a pretty tight community. So if anybody experiences that, I'm sure we all have each other's backs, and we'd be flying the resume around to as many places as we can get it. You know,
I agree.
just don't let recent events dissuade you from doing the right thing.
Absolutely true. And my one caveat I would say for this is, if you're gonna pump the brakes, blow the whistle, throw up the flag, whatever the case may be, have some objective evidence to it. Like, just don't bitch to bitch. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, no, you have to have tangible evidence.
Yes. And then not just the evidence, but at that point, when you know something screwed up and you have objective evidence, you have some type of tangible, record everything. Not mean like have a tape recorder in your pocket or something like that. I mean like have like verifiable like record
Email traffic, records of of your inspection. Hey, these mount bolts of the last 100 batches received, each batch has more and more hardware that fail to meet criteria. Keep records of all those, and that's one of those things I can see where the company would be like, that's proprietary data. You can't do that. See, they're falsifying records and stealing company property. No, they're not.
Yeah.
They're, and unfortunately, that just jogged my memory. Unfortunately, those of you who work on very classified programs, this is even harder to do, because you're jeopardizing national security for, doing the right thing. Yes, you're doing the right thing, but you also are kind of under restrictions with your clearance about what you can and cannot say in unclassified areas. And so,
right.
I mean, bring it up to the appropriate authorities, who, the highest person who will lend you their ear. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, hope that the right thing happens. But again, be ready to pull the eject cord.
Yep, this is 100% true. And again, going along the records part, right? Another good reason to keep record of it, other than evidence, is it keeps the story straight. Because going on to like what we were saying earlier about the retribution and stuff, when people start bashing you and they start tacking on that stress to you, stories get mixed up, ideas get mixed together, and then certain things like they don't add up, or they don't line up how you originally thought it would be. So it's very important that if you are going to do this, if you are going to say something, that you have tangibles to this and you keep record of this, because once all that stress comes tacking on, stories are going to mix and you're going to start forgetting simple shit, right? So having a record of who, what, when, where, why, and all this other stuff will at least keep the story straight. So when individuals, whoever they may be, they start suggesting certain things and they start sowing doubt, like, nope, it says right here, item failed or XYZ was addressed, no action taken. It says right here, has emails, has your response to said action, whatever. Right. And that's another way you can keep it going. Now, for the classified peoples, I mean, whatever is within your limits, like that you can do. Right. I don't know. I really can't say a whole lot about it, because that's a whole different type of record keeping. But whatever's within the means and your limitations to maintain tangibles. And as MVP said, you can address this to the highest possible, that, hey, this is happening, and just hope and pray it happens. At the worst case scenario, you have the ejection seat, pull the cord, and learn and be happy that you can sleep with your own conscience. Sometimes that's all you can do, but far better it to sleep knowing that you did the right thing than to just color along and then just play the odds of who's going to be the one to take that fall if something bad happens.
Some might be saying, yeah, but six, if I do the right thing, I may sleep forever. Try not to let that cloud your judgment. Do the right thing and vanish. If that's what you have to do, unfortunately, it might not fix anything, but at least your conscience is clear.
Yes.
And while they may continue on with the shady routes they're going, at least you'll no longer be part of it. But you did throw caution their way, and they chose not to heed it. So move on to greener pastures.
Very much so. Very true. Any final thoughts on anything, Mr. MVP?
No, I said what I had to say.
Same here, man. Like this is a very sensitive subject for us, especially the way things are going now. There's many things happening in aviation that really calls for us to A, speak up about stuff, and B, have a united stance in this. And it's more than just pay wages. It's more than just maintenance practices. It's more than just operations. This goes it cascades to a whole slew of things. And sometimes the only way for people to know anything's happening is to raise the stink, and hopefully the right person that's a key decision maker takes it for action. But hey, let us know what you guys all think. Like, what sort of things did we miss? What sort of things have you felt worked, hindered, or helped individuals who had to raise a concern? What sort of concerns are you guys dealing with that you feel need to get voiced, that maybe we can help assist in some fashion? Let us know in the comments. Let us know on our social medias, our website, emails, whichever is the absolute easiest for you. The best way to get a hold of us and have conversations like this and be able to challenge each other's perspectives is through our Discord channel via Patreon. We have all sorts of conversations like this. We have all sorts of perspectives that challenge our mindset and how certain things could be fallacious. It's a very big learning experience, and we definitely thank our patrons for allowing that or sharing in that with us. On that note, hey, we appreciate you all again for listening, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
We would like to take this time to thank our patrons for supporting our show and allowing us to make episodes, maintain our gear, and create merch for all of our listeners. With special thanks to Erica Lamont, Chris Hawkins, Eric Shaw, Dan Schubert, Ryan Frushauer, Kyle Keir, Mike Sherwood, Caleb Stockhill, and Jennifer Brofer. Thank you all so much for your support and patronage. If you like our show, please support us on Patreon. You'll receive awesome perks like access to our private Discord, discounts and early access to our merch, first glimpse of our comics and other projects, and so much more. You can further support us and show off your prowess as an aircraft specialist by visiting our shop at cancelformaintenance.com. If you like classy or rugged watches, visit our affiliate Rockwell Time at rockwelltime.com. Use the code CX4MX to save 10% off your total order. If you have suggestions for the show or you'd like to be a guest on the show, send us a line on our contact us section at cancelformaintenance.com, and we'll do what we can to get both your ideas and yourself on the show. Please support us on social media like Facebook at Cancel for Maintenance, Instagram at CANX for Maintenance Podcast, or Twitter at CXMX Podcast. Please check out our new comic series on the Tapas app. Like, share, subscribe, and comment on our comics. Let us know what you think. Thank you all so much for your support and listenership, and we will catch you all next time.